Hi, welcome back to the channel, and our latest quick video today is all about trying to bust the myth about swaying. So you've caught me in the middle of a practice session. I'm at Wentworth's second hole here, and I've deliberately set this up at a yardage which is a bit of a push for the club that I'm using. So I need to play about a 150 yard shot uphill slightly, and I've got my A time which is right on the limit. So I'm having to generate a bit more power than usual, which is going to lead me into the swaying thing later on. Okay, so let's see how we get on. Okay, it's touch and go. Okay, just made it up the slope this time. But swaying is something that we hear a lot about at the start of lessons when we ask people what they would like to improve upon. But actually it can be a real inhibitor to people's progress in golf when they try and stop swaying, almost to the detriment of everything else. There's some really bad consequences of what happens if you try and stop any sway in your golf swing. And if I just change the terminology from sway to weight transfer, then it becomes a lot clearer that in order to propel anything with any speed and generate a lot of power, we need to transfer weight, the same as a javelin thrower or a boxer. Your weight has to be travelling in the direction that you want your projectile to go in. And if it isn't, and if you get in the way of that, you're going to reduce your power, and as I'll show you in a second, you're going to make your golf swing a lot worse. So let's be clear what we mean by the word sway. So for me, a sway is this movement, okay? Swaying from side to side. Now, we don't see a lot of people doing that in golf, and realistically, if we did, that would be a bad thing. What we generally see is people trying to make a turn in golf, which is a completely different movement here, but as a result of trying to make that turn, we see lateral movement at the same time. And this is normally due to age, mobility, back flexibility, previous back injuries, or just poor technique. But generally speaking, when we try and make a full rotation of our upper body without moving our feet, there will be some lateral movement. Now at the very, very top of the game, the elite players manage to achieve this with very, very little lateral movement on the way back. They all have lateral movement through the ball because they all finish with their right foot off the ground and their weight over their left leg. But on the way back, some of them manage to restrict the movement to very little on the way back. But don't forget, these are 20-something-year-olds who spend all day in the gym, and this is their living. For recreational golfers, in order to make a full shoulder turn this way, it's very normal because the weight of the club is, don't forget, flying out at arm's length over there. It's going to have an effect on your balance and the way that you move. So when we move, generally speaking, there will be a movement of your centre of gravity backwards away from the golf ball. This isn't a sway, this is just you transferring weight the best way you can, and it is to be encouraged. All we have to remember is, obviously, that when we transfer the weight away, when we come through, that weight needs to shift back through the golf ball to the middle and onwards. So the direction of travel of your weight is in the backswing is this way slightly, and in the forward swing is this way, because that's essential to generating power. Now let's just have a little look at what happens when people come in here for a lesson and they're deliberately trying not to sway. We generally find that these people have very, very static golf swings. They're trying to stay so still that actually weight transfer doesn't happen as well as it should. So we see this sort of trying to stay very still. Now you can see I've not managed to rotate my upper body very well at all here, and I've certainly not managed to transfer any weight. It's still pretty 50-50. And this is going to really stop the generation of power. So this golfer is going to hit the ball not very far and weakly, compared to someone who is actually willing to allow the full turn to happen, even if that means transferring your weight, and that involves a slight movement to the right, or sway if you like. So I think a sway in this instance is to be encouraged, and the older you get, the more you're going to sway. It's as simple as that. You have to embrace that. Now, let's have a look at what effect that the sway or the movement off the ball has on the low spot of the golf swing. So the golf swing has got, as we know, as a circle, it has a low point down by the golf ball. if we move, as we turn, if our weight moves us off to the right slightly, and as long as we shift back to the middle, we're going to find that low spot again. The low spot isn't a single half an inch, it's around about 3 to 4 inches in real terms. So there's a little bit of flexibility there, as long as when you go back, we don't stay there and try and hit the golf ball. Because now my weight has stayed back and my low point has stayed way behind the ball, and you're going to hit the ground behind the ball a lot. So don't be afraid to move your weight. And when you're in the garden right now during lockdown, you can practice this and encourage it. Okay, so have a feeling of what it's like to move your centre of gravity a long way, here to here, and then see, okay, how much movement am I going to tolerate to make a full turn? Might just be a few inches and through. What I want to really show you is the really bad effect of actually not allowing your body to move to make a full turn, not allowing it to move laterally at all. And I'm just going to turn to the side for this and show you down the line. So, when I make a golf swing without any lateral movement at all, I'm trying to stay very still. My turn will be under-rotated, but now, because I've got no movement laterally in my golf swing, if I just unwind my body, literally unrotate it, this is where the club gets thrown out of line and in front of us. And we generally see these golfers, as we say, not creating as much power, but also because they're scared of lateral movement, or they're trying not to do it, we find that the club gets thrown out across the line, and we end up either pulling the ball or, more traditionally, slicing the golf ball. Lateral movement has a huge effect on the path of the club. So if I allow myself to move a little bit more freely now, make a full swing, as I move laterally back into position, this gives the club time to drop down behind me and approach the ball from a more inside path. I've got much more chance of hitting a draw shot or a straighter shot if my movement is allowed to go towards the target. And in order for that to happen, I have to have moved it back. So, to recap, by all means, if you're an elite golfer or you're aspiring to make a living from the game, you need to go and see some physical training instructors, get yourself very strong, and you may be able to make a golf swing with very, very little lateral movement, but still creating a lot of power. For most of us, and certainly as we get older, I've certainly found it in my swing since turning 50, that I have to allow a little bit more lateral movement if I want to create a full rotation and keep up my power, so I can push clubs a little bit further into holes and keep my distance off the tee. So have a go in the garden, free yourself up a little bit if you're someone who's worried about swaying in the past. Allow yourself to sway, see what it feels like. It'll feel a lot more rhythmical, and it'll only take you a few shots when you get back on the golf course to find that low spot in the swing and get your strike back. Hope that's helped. Keep watching for our next tip, next video, and we'll see you soon. Take care.